Hello, and once again, welcome to another offering of Top Hat Tales. This week I'll be reading the story of the Clever Weaver. You see, once upon a time, the king of a faraway country was sitting on his throne, listening to the complaints of his people and judging between them. That particular morning, there had been fewer cases than usual to deal with. The king was about to rise up to go to his gardens, when all of a sudden there was a stir heard outside. And the Lord High Chamberlain entered, and inquired if His Majesty could be graciously pleased to receive the ambassador of a powerful emperor, who lived far away in the east, and was greatly feared by the neighboring sovereigns. The king, who stood in much as dread of this emperor as the rest, gave orders that the envoy should be admitted at once, and that a banquet should be prepared in his honor. And then he settled himself again on his throne, wondering what the envoy had to say. Because, kings actually do things, or they're supposed to at least. Well, but the envoy didn't say anything. He advanced to the throne, where the king was awaiting him, stooped down, and traced the floor with a rod which he held in his hand, a black circle all around the throne. Then he sat down on a seat that was nearby, and took no further notice of anyone. Because, that made a lot of sense. Sure, whatever. The king and his courtiers were completely mystified and enraged at this strange behavior, but the envoy sat as calm and as still as an image, and it soon became plain that they would get no explanation from him. The ministers were hastily summoned to the council. Not one of them could throw any light on the subject. This made the king more angry, and he told them that unless before sunset they could find someone capable of solving the mystery, he'd hang all of them, because, well, accountability and overblown consequences. Whoop-de-doo. The king was, as the ministers knew, a man of his word, and they quickly mapped the city out into districts so that they might visit house by house and question the occupants as to whether they could fathom the actions of this ambassador. Most of them received no reply at all except a puzzled stare, but luckily one of them was more observant than the rest, and upon entering an empty cottage where a swing was swinging of itself, he began to think it might be worthwhile for him to see the owner. Opening a door into another room, he found a second swing, swinging gently like the first, and from the window he beheld a patch of corn, and thereby a willow tree which moved perpetually without any wind, in order to frighten away sparrows. Feeling more and more curious, he descended the stairs and found himself in a large lit workshop, in which was seated a weaver at his loom. But all the weaver did was guide his threads, for the machine that he had invented to set in motion the swings and the willow pole made all the loom do the work. When he saw the great wheel standing in the corner, and had guessed the use of it, the merchant heaved a huge sigh of relief. At any rate, if the weaver could not guess the riddle, he at least might be able to put the minister on the right track. So, without any more ado, he told the story of the circle, and ended by declaring that the person who would explain its meaning should be handsomely rewarded. Because lies, apparently. "Well, come with me at once," he said. "The sun is low to the heavens, and there's no time to lose." The weaver, interrupted at his work, stood thinking for a moment, and then walked across to a window, outside of which was a hen coop, with 2 knuckle bones lying beside it. Those are dice, by the way. These he picked up, and taking the hen out of the coop, he tucked it under his arm, without any explanation. "I'm ready," he said to the minister. Once back in the hall, the king sat on his throne and the envoy on his seat. The weaver and the minister entered together, and the king seemed slightly puzzled. But signing for the minister to remain where he was, the weaver advanced to the envoy. He looked at the circle and put the knuckle bones on the floor beside him. For an answer, the envoy took a handful of millet out of his pocket, which is a kind of rice or grain, and threw it on the ground. The weaver looked at the envoy, then put down the hen, who ate all the millet. At that, the envoy rose without a word and took his departure and left quickly. And no one had the slightest clue what had just happened. As soon as he had left the hall, the king beckoned over the weaver. "You alone seem to have guessed this riddle, and great shall be your reward. Tell me, I pray you, what this means." Oh, the meaning, O king, replied the weaver, is this. The circle drawn by the envoy around your throne is the message of the emperor, and it says, if I send an army to surround your capital, will you lay down your arms? The knuckle bones, which I placed before the envoy, told him, you are but children in comparison with us. Toys like these are the only playthings which you are fit for. The millet he threw upon the ground was the emblem of the number of soldiers that his minister can bring to the field. And the hen, which I set out, ate up the seed. He understood that one of our men could destroy an entire host of theirs. I don't think the emperor is going to declare war. You saved me and my honor, cried the king, and wealth and glory shall be heaped upon you. Name your reward, and you shall have it, even to the half of my kingdom. The small farm outside the city gates, as a marriage portion for my daughter. This is all I ask. Asked the weaver, and it was all he would accept. Only, O king, were his parting words, I would beg of you to remember that weavers are also of value to a state, and they are sometimes cleverer than ministers. And by this, we should take note that sometimes reading the symbols is more important than what anyone has to say. You should look between the lines and think about the research and things involved and the message someone carries. And just because someone is in a high place doesn't mean they're the best man or woman or anything else to answer the question at hand. Sometimes you need information from an outside source. I hope my story pleased you today. And otherwise, shall return again next week. Thank you for coming to watch Top Hat Tales. Have an excellent day.